Threads of lavender. The old pillow had seen better days. Its once white fabric had turned the color of parchment, edges frayed like dried leaves in autumn. The small embroidered E on the corner was almost gone, rubbed away by years of dreams. Yet every night, Emma couldn't sleep without it. She'd had it since she was 6, stitched by her mother one warm June afternoon when the house smelled of rice pudding and sunlight. Inside, her mother had tucked a handful of dried lavender. "So you'll always dream of calm things," she'd said. Now Emma was 27, living in a noisy apartment in Boston where calm was something she mostly ordered through meditation apps. Her pillow was the one thing that hadn't changed. The first night. That Thursday evening, rain whispered against the window as Emma came home late from work. The city lights shimmered in puddles. Her office job at the publishing firm had stretched long into the night, deadlines, emails, coffee gone cold. She kicked off her shoes, dropped her bag, and sighed. On her bed lay the pillow, waiting. The scent of lavender was faint now, almost ghost-like, but it still greeted her when she pressed her face against it. She closed her eyes. For the first time in weeks, she dreamed. She was back in her childhood room, the pink curtains, the bookshelf full of fairy tales, the sound of her mother humming downstairs. Everything felt impossibly real. She could even smell the pudding again. In the dream, she saw her mother sewing something by the window, her hair glowing in sunlight. "Mom?" Emma whispered. Her mother looked up and smiled, but didn't speak. Instead, she pointed to the pillow on Emma's bed. When Emma woke, her cheeks were wet. The lavender drawer. The dream stayed with her all morning. She couldn't shake it while brushing her teeth or sitting on the subway. At work, she caught herself staring at her computer screen, thinking about the lavender scent. Her mother had passed away 3 years ago. Cancer. Quick and cruel. Emma had tried everything to cope: therapy, travel, distraction. But grief, she'd learned, didn't go away, it simply waited. Quiet and patient, like something sleeping inside you. That night, she opened her dresser and pulled out an old wooden box her mother had left behind. Inside lay a small sachet of dried lavender. Brittle but fragrant. She pressed it to her nose and felt tears prick her eyes. Then, without knowing why, she unzipped her pillow and added a few pieces inside. "Sweet dreams, Mom," she whispered before turning off the light. The second dream. The next night, she dreamed again. This time, her mother was in the kitchen, stirring a pot on the stove. "You're late," she said playfully. "Dinner's getting cold." Emma laughed. "I've missed this place." Her mother smiled. "You never really left, sweetheart." When Emma woke up, her heart was pounding, not from fear, but from longing. The dream had felt more like a memory than a dream. She could remember every detail: the wooden spoon, the sound of cicadas outside, even the faint crack in the wall above the stove. She sat on the edge of her bed, staring at the pillow. The lavender smell was stronger now. A visit from the past. On Saturday, Emma decided to visit her old house. It was 2 hours away, in a quiet Massachusetts town where everyone knew everyone. The house had been sold after her mother's death, but the new owners had turned it into a bed and breakfast. When Emma parked across the street, her stomach twisted. The same white fence, the same big oak tree. She walked up the path, her shoes crunching on gravel. A woman with kind eyes opened the door. "Can I help you?" "I used to live here," Emma said awkwardly. "When I was a kid. My mom, she..." "Oh, you must be Mrs. Harper's daughter. She used to make those amazing lavender cookies, didn't she?" Emma smiled faintly. "Yeah, that was her." The woman, Mrs. Callahan, let her look around. The kitchen had been repainted, the curtains replaced, but the smell, somehow, was the same. Warm, flowery, sweet. When Emma reached her old bedroom, she froze. The new owners had kept the same wooden floors. Sunlight spilled across the boards in the same familiar pattern. For a moment, she felt 6 years old again, chasing dust motes with her mother's laughter echoing down the hall. She touched the window frame. "It's still here," she murmured. Then she noticed something, a tiny carving on the wood. The letter E. She'd forgotten she'd done that as a child. But now, looking at it, she felt a sudden pulse of warmth, like a whisper in her chest. "You remember me too." The call. That evening, Emma sat on her couch, the pillow clutched to her chest. She thought about her mother's old stories, how she used to say every object carried memories. Like fingerprints of time, if you love something enough, she'd said, it remembers you. Emma smiled sadly. Guess you were right, Mom. Her phone buzzed. It was Noah, her ex-boyfriend. She hadn't spoken to him in months. Hey, his text read, I saw your photo at the old house online. You okay? She hesitated, then replied, yeah, just remembering things. Good memories? He wrote. She looked down at the pillow beside her, the lavender smell wrapping around her like a soft ghost. The best kind, she typed back, the kind that find you when you're asleep. The whisper. That night, something strange happened. As Emma drifted toward sleep, she felt the faintest vibration against her cheek, as if the pillow itself had sighed. The scent of lavender deepened, filling the air until it almost shimmered. Then, a voice, soft, familiar, half a breath. I'm still here, sweetheart. Emma's eyes flew open. The room was dark, the city humming beyond the window. Mom? She whispered. Silence. She sat up, trembling. Maybe she'd imagined it. Maybe she was just tired. Her mind playing tricks. But the pillow felt warm, like it had been holding a heartbeat. Threads. In the morning, Emma found a loose thread on the edge of the pillow. She pulled it gently, and something tiny fell out, a folded piece of paper. Yellow with age. Her hands shook as she opened it. Inside was her mother's handwriting, small and delicate. If you ever forget who you are, just rest your head, I'll remind you. Emma stared at the note for a long time, her throat tight. She pressed the paper to her chest, then looked at the pillow again. The lavender scent seemed to swell with quiet pride. Okay, Mom, she whispered, smiling through tears, I'll remember. The dream that wasn't hers. The night after she found the note, Emma couldn't stop thinking about it. She had read it again and again until the words blurred. If you ever forget who you are, just rest your head, I'll remind you. She placed the note on her nightstand, next to an old photograph of her mother holding her as a baby. They were both laughing, eyes half closed, joy spilling out like sunlight. She touched the pillow gently, almost reverently. Okay, she whispered, remind me. Then she fell asleep. A different kitchen. The dream came immediately, like someone had opened a door she didn't know existed. She was standing in a kitchen, but not her kitchen. Not the one from her childhood. This one was older, rustic, full of shadows. A kettle hissed on the stove, and through the window she saw rain falling in silver lines. Her mother was there again. Younger this time, her hair longer, her hands thinner. She was writing something on a piece of paper, her lips moving silently. Emma tried to speak, but her voice didn't come. It was as though she were only a ghost watching someone else's memory. A moment later, a knock came at the door. Her mother froze. The paper she was writing on trembled slightly. She folded it quickly and slipped it inside a pillowcase on the counter, the same pillow Emma now owned. Then the dream faded, leaving only the smell of rain and lavender. The journal. Emma woke with a start. Her sheets were damp with sweat. She grabbed her phone, 3:17 a.m. She sat there for a long minute, heart racing, staring at the pillow. That was weird, she muttered, too detailed. But part of her knew, it felt real. The way her mother's hand moved, the sound of the kettle, the knock on the door. Dreams didn't usually have that kind of texture. The next morning, she called her aunt, June, her mother's older sister. June, she said hesitantly, can I ask you something strange? Her aunt laughed softly. With you, honey, I'm ready for strange. Do you know if Mom ever kept journals? Or wrote things down and hid them? There was silence on the line, broken only by the crackle of old phone static. Why do you ask that? June said finally. I found a note in my pillow. From her, and last night, I dreamed of her hiding something in that same pillow. Her aunt exhaled slowly. Your mother was always sentimental. She believed in what she called memory threads, tiny keepsakes that hold pieces of people. Maybe she wanted you to find them someday. Emma bit her lip. Do you think there could be more notes? Or something else inside? I wouldn't be surprised, June said, but be gentle with it. Honey, Your mother stitched that pillow by hand. The hidden thread. That night, Emma took a seam ripper from her sewing kit and sat cross-legged on the bed. She ran her fingers over the fabric, tracing the seams one by one. Then she noticed something, a double stitch near one corner. Unlike the others, carefully, she loosened the thread and pulled. Inside was a tiny envelope, sealed and yellowed. Her hands trembled as she opened it. Emma, if you're reading this, it means I'm gone, but you must understand, some dreams are not just dreams. The things you see when you sleep are the echoes I left for you. There's more to remember, but be patient. Memory unfolds when you're ready. Love always. Mom. Emma stared at the letter, feeling her pulse in her throat. Echoes I left for you. She glanced at the pillow again, at the faint lavender filling the air. What did you mean, Mom? She whispered. What am I supposed to see? The stranger. That night, the dreams returned. She was outside now, standing near a small cottage. The air was thick with summer. She saw her mother again, but she wasn't alone. A man stood beside her, tall, with kind eyes and a quiet sadness about him. Emma had never seen him before. Her mother was saying something. You can't stay. They'll never understand. The man reached out, took her mother's hand, and said, then I'll remember for both of us. The pillow's lavender scent deepened, almost dizzying, and the dream blurred, slipping away before Emma could catch another word. She woke up gasping. Questions and ghosts. For 2 days, Emma couldn't focus at work. Her thoughts circled that dream like a moth around a light bulb. Who was that man? What did her mother mean by, they'll never understand? And why did she feel a strange ache in her chest? Like the memory belonged to her too? She started searching through old boxes, photographs, letters, anything that might explain, but there was nothing. Her father had left when she was little, and her mother had rarely spoken of the past. That evening, Emma sat by the window with a cup of tea, watching the rain return. She touched the pillow beside her and whispered, if you really remember, then show me. The storm dream. That night's dream was unlike the others. It was loud, chaotic, almost frightening. Thunder cracked, and the world shook with it. She saw her mother running through a field, soaked to the bone, clutching the same pillow against her chest. Behind her, headlights cut through the rain. Voices shouted her name, angry, desperate. Then the dream shifted. The same man from before was waiting under a tree, holding out his hand. Hurry, he shouted. Emma's mother hesitated only a second, then ran to him. Together they vanished into the storm. When Emma woke up, she could still hear the thunder, faint and far away. Her heart felt like it might break. The letter from June. A week later, a letter arrived in the mail. The envelope was cream-colored, written in her aunt's looping handwriting. Dear Emma, I've been thinking about what you said, the dreams, the pillow, the man. There's something I never told you. Because your mother made me promise. But maybe now it's time. Before you were born, your mother fell in love with someone. He wasn't your father. His name was Samuel. They were inseparable. But her family didn't approve. He was older, from another country, and already married. When she found out she was pregnant, he disappeared. She never spoke of him again. I think the pillow may be her way of keeping that memory safe. I'm sorry, honey. I thought you should know. Emma read the letter 3 times before she set it down. Samuel. Her chest ached. She looked at the pillow again. You've been keeping secrets, she whispered. The unfinished story. That night, she didn't dream. She tossed and turned, clutching the pillow but finding only silence. The lavender scent seemed fainter, as if waiting for her to understand something first. Finally, around dawn, she whispered, Mom, I'm ready. Show me. And slowly, sleep took her. She was back in that same cottage. Her mother sat at a table, older now, writing a letter. She looked tired but peaceful. On the table lay 2 envelopes, one addressed to Emma, the other to Samuel. Her mother lifted her head suddenly, looking straight toward Emma, as if she could see her through the dream. You can't change what happened, she said softly, but you can finish what I started. The man in the photograph. The letter from Aunt June wouldn't stop echoing in Emma's head. Before you were born, your mother fell in love with someone. His name was Samuel. Every time she looked at the pillow, She felt as if it was quietly holding its breath, waiting for her to understand. For days, she avoided sleeping. She worked late, watched old movies, anything to stay awake, but exhaustion is a patient visitor. And one night, as the city outside hummed with rain again, she finally gave in. The dream of the studio. She was standing in a photography studio. Light flooding through tall windows. Dust floated like tiny constellations. Her mother sat in front of a camera, smiling shyly. Behind the lens stood a man, tall, calm, eyes kind but serious. "Samuel. Just relax," he said. "Pretend I'm not here." "I can't." Her mother laughed. "You always make me nervous." "Then I'll take that as a compliment." He lowered the camera, stepped closer, and tucked a loose strand of hair behind her ear. Their fingers brushed, and the air shimmered between them. The lavender scent wrapped around Emma in the dream. Stronger now, almost tangible. She wanted to speak, to ask 100 questions, but her voice wouldn't come. She was only an observer, floating inside someone else's memory. Then the flash went off, and everything turned white. The photograph. Emma woke with her heart pounding. The smell of lavender lingered in the room like a memory that refused to fade. A studio. A photograph. She jumped out of bed, grabbed her laptop, and searched Samuel Photography, Massachusetts, 1980s. Dozens of irrelevant results appeared: wedding photographers, old art exhibitions, a jazz musician. Then, one image made her stop. A black and white photograph of a woman laughing under sunlight. The caption read, "Taken by Samuel Hayes. Boston, 1983. Her breath caught. The woman in the photo wasn't her mother. But the style, the softness, the light, felt exactly like the dream. She clicked on the gallery name, Hayes & Company. Studio, Cambridge, MA. The studio still existed. The studio visit. 2 days later, Emma stood in front of the same building from her dream, ivy climbing up the brick walls. A small brass plate reading Hayes Studio. Est, 1979. She hesitated before pushing the door open. Inside, the air smelled faintly of chemicals and old wood. Dozens of framed photographs lined the walls, portraits, weddings, street scenes. Each image seemed to hum with quiet life. "Can I help you?" a voice asked. An older man stepped out from behind a curtain, silver hair, sharp blue eyes, a kind face worn by time. Emma froze. It couldn't be. But the way he moved, the warmth in his eyes, she knew. "Mr. Hayes?" she whispered. He nodded. "That's me. Have we met before?" Emma swallowed hard. "Not exactly. But, you knew my mother. Laura Harper." For a long moment, the air seemed to stop moving. Then he exhaled, his hand trembling slightly. "Laura," he said softly, "you look just like her." The conversation. They sat in the small studio office, surrounded by photographs and the hum of memory. "I didn't think anyone would ever come," Samuel said finally. "Your mother, she disappeared so suddenly. I never knew what happened." "She got married," Emma said quietly, "to my father, but they divorced when I was little. She never mentioned you." He nodded slowly, staring at his hands. "That sounds like her. She always tried to protect people from pain, even when it hurt her most." Emma hesitated. "Can I ask you something? Did you love her?" He looked up, eyes shining. "More than I've loved anyone. But love isn't always enough. Her family wanted her to choose safety, not scandal. I was married then, trying to fix something that was already broken. When she found out she was pregnant, she vanished." Emma's breath hitched. "You never knew?" He shook his head. "I suspected, but she never told me. Until now, I didn't know she had a daughter." Tears stung her eyes. "She left me a note. And a pillow. It's been showing me things. Memories." Samuel smiled sadly. "Laura always believed memories had souls. Maybe she found a way to give hers to you." The photograph on the shelf. As they talked, Samuel rose and went to a shelf lined with boxes. He pulled out one labeled 1984 Personal. Inside were dozens of photos, most in black and white. He handed one to Emma. It was a picture of her mother sitting on a park bench, smiling directly at the camera, holding a pillow on her lap. "The day I took that," Samuel said, "she told me she'd sewn something special. Said she wanted to make sure her daughter would always remember the smell of summer. The pillow, Emma whispered. He nodded. She carried it everywhere that year. Emma turned the photo over. On the back, written in her mother's handwriting, were the words, "For the dream that must never fade." The truth. Samuel walked her to the door as the sun began to set, washing the street in gold. "I don't know if it matters anymore," he said softly, "but you deserve to know. I tried to find her. Every year, every letter I sent came back unopened." She was afraid, Emma said, afraid of what people would think. But she never stopped loving. "I can tell." He smiled faintly. "That's Laura, always loving, even from a distance." She hesitated, then asked, "Would you like to see her again? In some way?" He frowned gently. "What do you mean?" "I think," she said slowly, "the pillow remembers you too. The shared dream." That night, for the first time, Emma didn't sleep alone. Samuel had insisted on driving her home after dinner. When she told him she wanted to show him something, he agreed, though she could tell he was skeptical. Now he sat quietly in her living room, holding the worn, lavender-scented pillow in his lap. "She really kept it," he murmured, "after all these years." "Try closing your eyes," Emma said softly, "just for a moment." He chuckled. "You sound like her." "Please." He nodded, closed his eyes, and leaned back. The air thickened, the lavender scent deepened, curling through the room like invisible smoke. The lights seemed to dim. Emma closed her eyes too. And then, they were both standing in a meadow. The sky was orange and pink, the air full of birdsong. Ahead of them stood Laura, young, radiant, wearing the same white dress Emma had seen in her dreams. Samuel gasped, tears filling his eyes. "Laura?" She smiled. "You both found me." Emma couldn't move. Her throat ached. "Mom?" Laura walked toward them, her form shimmering like sunlight through water. "You've both carried me all these years. Now, it's time to let me rest." Samuel reached out a trembling hand. "I'm so sorry." "I know," she said gently. "But look, you gave me something that never died." She turned to Emma. "You." The lavender wind swirled around them, warm and soft. Then Laura touched their hands together. "Remember each other. That's all I ever wanted." And then she was gone, leaving only the scent of lavender and the sound of distant laughter. The morning after, Emma woke on the couch, sunlight pouring through the curtains. The pillow lay between her and Samuel, who was still asleep, his face peaceful. She smiled through tears. The lavender scent lingered, soft and comforting. When Samuel opened his eyes, he whispered, "I saw her." Emma nodded. "Me too." He looked at the pillow. "It's like she found a way to say goodbye." "Not goodbye," Emma said quietly. "Just, good night." The last night of lavender. The morning after the shared dream felt different. The air seemed lighter, as if something had quietly shifted in the world. Emma sat at the kitchen table, a mug of coffee cooling between her hands. Across from her, Samuel stared at the pillow lying on the chair beside them. Neither had spoken much since waking. Finally, he broke the silence. "Do you think it was real?" Emma smiled faintly. "It felt real. That's enough for me." He nodded. "She looked so young, just like the first time I met her." "She looked happy," Emma said softly. "That's what matters." But even as she said it, she noticed something different. The pillow's scent was fading. The lavender, once so rich and alive, was barely there. It felt like time was running out. A fading memory. That afternoon, Samuel left for the studio. He said he wanted to find the negatives of the photo he'd shown her, to restore them. Maybe frame one for her. Emma stayed behind, restless. She walked through her apartment, feeling the quiet press against her like water. Every room held echoes of the past few nights. Laughter. Tears. The impossible dream that had brought her mother back. When she returned to her bedroom, she froze. The pillow lay in the middle of the bed, but the embroidered E on the corner was gone. Just smooth fabric, as if it had never been there. Her chest tightened. She picked it up, held it close, and whispered, "Don't leave yet." The faint lavender scent stirred again, like the pillow was sighing. The visitor. That evening, Aunt June called. "I've been thinking about you, honey," she said. "I had the strangest dream last night. Your mother and I were sitting on the porch, and she told me to tell you something. It's time to let the lavender rest. Does that mean anything to you? Emma's throat went dry. Yeah, she whispered. It means she's saying goodbye. June sighed softly. Then maybe that's a good thing. You've carried her long enough. Sweetheart. After they hung up, Emma sat in silence for a long time, staring at the pillow. Let the lavender rest. The last dream begins. That night, she decided she wouldn't fight sleep anymore. She would go wherever the dream wanted to take her. She placed the pillow beneath her head, closed her eyes, and whispered, I'm ready. The world fell away. When she opened her eyes, she was standing in her childhood home again. The curtains fluttered in a soft summer breeze. The smell of baking and fresh flowers filled the air. Her mother was there, sitting at the kitchen table, a teacup in her hands. Hi, sweetheart, Laura said, smiling gently. You came back. Emma's voice shook. Is this the last one? Laura nodded. Dreams fade, like perfume. Even lavender can't last forever. I don't want it to end. Her mother reached out, touching her cheek. It has to. If you never wake up, you'll never live. The garden of lavender. The kitchen door opened, and sunlight poured in. Beyond it lay a garden Emma didn't recognize, endless rows of lavender swaying in the wind. Her mother stood and took her hand. Come, I want to show you something. They walked through the field, the air thick with scent. Bees hummed softly nearby. Do you remember, Laura said, when you were little, you used to ask why I loved lavender so much? Emma nodded, smiling faintly. You said it helped you sleep. Her mother laughed. I lied. I loved it because it reminded me of him. Of peace. Of you. Emma looked at her, tears in her eyes. You mean Samuel? Laura nodded. He gave me lavender on our first date. Said it was for memory. He believed scent keeps people alive. The two of them stopped walking. At the center of the field stood a single tree, its branches heavy with purple blossoms. Laura turned to her. This is where my dreams live now. Yours don't belong here, Emma. They belong out there, in the world. Emma's heart ached. But if I wake up, I'll lose you again. No, her mother said softly. You'll find me in everything that remembers you. That's how love works. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a small silver locket. Inside was a piece of lavender. Take this. When the scent fades, you'll know I'm free. The promise. A breeze rippled through the field, carrying petals into the air like snow. Emma clutched the locket. Will I ever see you again? Her mother smiled. Every night you close your eyes. Every time you forgive yourself. Every time you love. The wind grew stronger, the lavender blurring into violet waves. Mom, Emma cried, reaching out. Laura's voice drifted through the air, faint and warm. Sleep is just another way of remembering. Then the world went white. Awakening. Emma woke with tears streaming down her face. The morning light was bright and golden, and the pillow beneath her head felt lighter, almost empty. She lifted it gently. The lavender scent was gone. Inside, when she peeked through the small seam, she saw that the flowers had turned to dust. She smiled. Rest well, Mom. Then she noticed something else. On the nightstand lay the silver locket from her dream. She opened it, half expecting it to be empty. Inside was a single lavender petal, perfectly preserved. Her breath caught. You're still here, she whispered. The photograph restored. Later that week, Samuel invited her to the studio. When she arrived, he handed her a framed photograph. It was the one of her mother on the park bench, the same one he'd shown her before, but now it looked new, as if the light itself had been reborn. I restored it, he said quietly, but when I developed the negative again, something strange happened. He turned the photo around. On the back, faint but visible, were new words written in delicate handwriting. Thank you for remembering us. Emma looked up, her voice trembling. She really was here. Samuel smiled through tears. She still is. They stood there for a long time, neither speaking, both listening to the quiet hum of the studio. Outside, the scent of fresh rain drifted in through the open window. The final rest. That night, Emma placed the pillow, now empty of lavender, inside a small cedar box. She tied it with a white ribbon and carried it to her mother's grave the next morning. The cemetery was quiet. sunlight filtering through tall oaks. She knelt beside the stone and laid the pillow down gently. "Thank you for every dream," she whispered. "Sleep well, Mom." As she turned to leave, a soft breeze stirred, carrying a faint, impossible scent, lavender. She smiled. The dream that chose to stay. The lavender was gone, but the dreams had not left her. For weeks after she buried the pillow, Emma found herself sleeping deeper than she ever had before. The dreams were softer now, less like visits and more like memories. Glowing faintly around the edges, like candlelight seen through frosted glass. Sometimes she'd see her mother standing in the distance, not saying anything, just smiling. Other nights, she'd dream of the lavender fields again, but empty, peaceful, waiting. She always woke with a feeling of fullness, not loss. The studio light. One morning, Samuel invited her back to the studio again. The space was filled with golden light. A dozen photographs lined the wall, old memories made new. Emma's mother's portrait was at the center. Below it, Samuel had written a single caption. "What we remember, remembers us." Emma stared at it, feeling her heart swell with both pride and ache. "She'd love this," she said softly. Samuel smiled. "She'd love you more. You finished what she started." Emma frowned. "What do you mean?" He gestured to the camera on his desk. "You've always written other people's stories, but you never told your own. Maybe now's the time." She smiled, almost shy. "A story about what? A magic pillow?" "About memory," he said, "and how love leaves fingerprints." The first page. That night, Emma sat at her desk, opened her laptop, and began to write. At first, it felt strange, telling her own story instead of editing someone else's. But as the words began to flow, she realized the story wasn't just about her mother. It was about remembering, the human need to hold on, even when the world insists we let go. She titled the first chapter, "Threads of Lavender." And just like that, the pillow that remembered began to take shape. A new dream. Months passed. The book grew, page by page. Sometimes she'd pause, staring at the screen, half expecting her mother's voice to guide her hand. And sometimes, she swore she heard it. "Add more warmth here. Don't forget the kitchen smell. Always end with hope." The lavender scent would drift faintly through the air during those moments, never strong, never lasting, just enough to remind her she wasn't truly alone. When she finally finished, she printed the last page and placed it beside her bed. Then she opened the silver locket, breathed in the last faint trace of lavender, and whispered, "It's done, Mom." That night, she dreamed again. The House of Light. In her dream, she stood before the old house again, but this time, it was brighter, almost transparent, like a memory made of morning. The front door was open. Inside, every room shimmered with light. Her mother's laughter echoed faintly from somewhere upstairs. Emma climbed the steps slowly, her heart racing. When she reached her childhood bedroom, she found the pillow lying neatly on the bed, clean, white, and new, the embroidered E gleaming gold. Her mother stood by the window, smiling. "You finished it," Laura said softly. Emma nodded. "I wrote our story." "I know," her mother whispered. "I read every word." Emma laughed through her tears. "You always edit my work." Laura grinned. "Someone has to." They stood there for a while, watching the light shift across the floorboards. "Mom," Emma said finally, "will this be the last dream?" Laura tilted her head, thinking, "Maybe for me, but not for you." Emma frowned. "What do you mean?" Her mother stepped closer and touched her chest. "When someone remembers with love, they become part of the dream that chose to stay. And sweetheart, you've become that dream." The words sank into Emma like sunlight into water. The choice. A soft wind began to blow through the room. The lavender fields outside shimmered into view again, endless and serene. Laura's form began to fade, light spilling from her outline. "Mom." Her mother smiled, eyes bright with love. "You don't need me to dream anymore. Emma, you carry the memory now. That's the real magic." Emma reached for her, but her mother's touch dissolved into warmth and air. Then the voice came again, gentle and sure. "Keep dreaming for both of us." And the world went white one last time. Morning. Emma woke with sunlight streaming through her window. The silver locket rested on her pillow. Open. Inside, the lavender petal had turned to light dust. But on the bedspread, faintly glowing in gold thread, were the letters E and L. Emma smiled. I love you too. She got up, opened her curtains, and watched the morning city hum with life. A soft breeze drifted in, carrying something faint, familiar, lavender. Epilogue. The Pillow That Remembered. A year later, The Pillow That Remembered was published. It wasn't a bestseller, but it found its readers, quiet souls who needed to remember that love never really leaves. Letters poured in from people around the world. A widower who dreamed of his wife again. A daughter who found peace after her mother's passing. A young man who said, "Your story helped me forgive my father." Emma read every letter. Sometimes, when she did, she swore she could smell lavender in the air. She never told anyone about that. Some things were too sacred for explanation. The final dream. Years later, when Emma herself was older, gray-haired, smiling, and surrounded by books, she placed the silver locket on her bedside table and whispered the same words her mother once had. "Sleep well, sweetheart. Dream of calm things." That night, she dreamed of the same lavender field. But this time, two figures walked through it, hand in hand. The wind carried laughter across the blossoms. And as the moon rose, the pillow lying beneath Emma's head seemed to sigh softly, content. At peace. It had done its job. It had remembered.